Welcome back, guys. Today I want to talk a little bit about cellulite, particularly female cellulite. What is it? Can you burn it? Can you help it out? What things can you do to, to get rid of it? And so first thing I want to go over is the difference between the sort of the distribution of skin fibers in a male versus a female. Okay. And so if you look here on the left, that is a diagram of a male sort of skin collagen fiber distribution. And they tend to run almost like a chain link fence. You'll see they have a crisscross fashion. All right. Whereas a woman's distribution is more ran like a picket fence, where it's very, run vertically up and down. Okay. And in the women's collagen fibers, like because they run vertically like a picket fence, then this collagen distribution forms these pockets in between, and fat builds up in these pockets and then pushes up into the skin and causes this sort of dimpling and puckering effect. Now it's really interesting, right? Because can thin women have cellulite? Absolutely. Okay. And can fat women be without cellulite? Absolutely. They can, right? And so the thing here is that there's a lot of genetics that are going into play here. And, because some women have collagen fibers that genetically look more like a man's. And some women have collagen fibers that are just a lot more pronounced and in this way. Okay. And that's why you can see that possibly, your skinny girlfriend might have a lot of cellulite. Okay. And you might have a little bit of weight on you and you have none. Okay. And so there's a couple things that go into it. Yes, genetics is one. And then the other thing is muscle, right? Certainly muscle has a lot to do with this, because if you look at the layer of the women's distribution, it's directly attached to collagen tissues, like tight muscle. And that tight muscle does what that we know of. It pulls and it tightens on these collagen tissues and smooths out the skin. So muscular women will have less cellulite as well. Okay. So it's not just genetics. It's not just about fat. It's also about muscle as well. So how can you as women then attack this, right? Well, you can do the wrong approach, which is to eat like a bird and lose muscle and to run miles every single day and lose muscle. And what that's going to do is, if you were a pear shaped to begin with, then you are just going to become a smaller, more pronounced, mushier pear, right? Like pear as in the fruit, the pear, okay? You'll get smaller if you take this approach, but you will get smaller and mushier, smaller and flabbier, right? And probably if you are one to have more of the female distribution of the collagen fibers, you will have a lot more of that puckering effect, a lot more cellulite, okay? So it's the difference between taking a smart approach versus just a calorie-centered approach here. Okay. And you'll get smaller, but your shape isn't going to change. And you may have some flabbiness, like I said. So what you want to do is you want to do this, the right way. And I call it the 4F model. You want to burn fat, strengthen the fibers, increase blood flow, and increase muscle firmness. And that will keep you from getting to this place, which many women will get and be more likely to get to this place. Okay. So how do you burn the fat? Well, we've already sort of talked about this, right? We've sort of talked about that you have to take an anti-cortisol approach, and you can train with the menstrual cycle, obviously. And we're going to also just talk in a minute that you also have to take an anti-insulin approach, okay? Or at least I think we actually talked about that in the last video about burning stubborn body fat, right? We have to make sure that we're eating in a low carb state at certain times to burn those alpha receptors off the stubborn body fat of women, okay? So we got to take care of these alpha receptors. And you have to do something to strengthen the fibers and increase blood flow. So this has to do with maybe self-massage, foam rolling, things like that, hydrotherapy, contrast, hot, cold therapy, hot baths and showers. And what a lot of women actually, hate in the US, it seems like, it's gotten a lot more popular, but is this idea of weight training, because they think that they're going to get big and bulky. Okay. But if, if you're going to get smaller, you're going to want to make sure that you change your shape. You want to stay lean and tight. Right. And so on the bottom, this is a trained glute versus a glute that's just not, doing strength training up to the left. Okay. That person's probably just doing a lot of cardio. versus the person on the bottom right, she's doing a lot of squats, a lot of lunges and stuff like that. Okay. So that's the difference. So the woman on the bottom is doing squats and lunges and pushing her body. And, you know, that way this woman is just, you know, the top on the left is just, she's just dieting and running. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with running and jogging and stuff like that. It's just that it's drastically overemphasized, you know, versus weight training, right? With all the sort of boot camp style stuff, you know, like the Orange Theory and, you know, all that stuff that's just not, they're not really getting under a heavy load to make much of a difference to shape the body. Okay. And it's really popular in a lot of people's exercise regimes. So all I'm saying is if you want to get to the state with the cute butt, you know, in the green or the pink bikini, you have to square that out. Okay. You need to make your running 1 to 2 days a week and make your weight training 3 to 4 days per week. Right. Okay. So that's just, a little bit about what you need to do to get rid of cellulite. It's probably something that you've already thought of, but maybe you didn't understand. And so the plan is, you know, is we really want to use this. The best way to do this is to use the female phase training, to use the menstrual cycle. And if you don't have a menstrual cycle, to at least cycle 7 days of burning to 7 days of building, right? So 7 days of burning in that low carb state, and, you know, focusing on lagging body parts, but also really taking an anti-cortisol approach, right? Lots of making sure you're doing lots of walking, lots of naps, you know, restorative type stuff, because that is really important to getting that fat off. And then you want to focus on 7 days of building, lifting heavy weights and eating in a surplus to really shape the body. Okay. So, and then you're just going to use that 4F model, you know, with heavy weights basically. So it's basically just a lower body fat protocol plus extra weight training. Okay. So that's the plan. If you guys have any cellulite, understand that is what you're going to want to focus on to get rid of it.